matter what color you are, you're just only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back because this is lower, this is upper.
Welcome back to another session of the Stark Naked Truth, and I'm your host, Larry Stark Jr. You know, we sit down and we rap with men about the things we don't normally talk about. Anything from finances to child support to death. Doesn't matter. We focus on everything in between because men really need to start talking about these things. And you never know, there could be somebody out there listening that you could help. Today, I have a special guest, as all my guests are special. It's one of my good friends, Michael Queen. Mike, thanks for coming in, brother.
Anytime, brother.
Right, pleased to have you here. So, Mike, before we get into any questioning and answers, I want to give the audience a little something about who you are. So just give us a brief synopsis of who you are.
Sure, who I am?
Yeah, who you are.
Well, grew up in Harlem, went to Rice High School, rest in peace, doesn't stand anymore, but listen, we're not going to talk about that. Went to Penn State, went for finance, ended up working in a brokerage firm, and now I'm doing a non-for-profit, actually. Just kind of take care of old people.
Okay. Our seniors.
Yes, our seniors and our youth, because we can't forget about our youth, though.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's important.
The money is with the seniors, but my heart is with the youth as well.
Understood. I know you do some mentorship and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have, it's called Black Boys Wear Suits too. Young lady in Harlem, though, she started it up, though, so we play games with the young boys, though. But in doing so, we teach them things like wearing bow ties, just try to give them proper etiquette on certain things and stuff like that. But it's also good to see young men who are old enough to be their big brother, I should say,
okay,
and still have a sense of professionalism at the same time.
Understood.
And maybe even see them in the street because we grew up in the same neighborhoods. So it's a special thing.
And how long have you been doing that?
2 years now.
2 years? Okay.
Yeah. So even before that, like I said, my heart is with the youth. I don't think we give attention enough to our little boys, though. So even if it was a friend of mine who had a younger brother who I felt like needed some type of counseling and stuff like that, it's always the things we do behind the scenes that matter the most, though. So
absolutely.
So
did you have any programs like that when you were growing up?
Ooh. I want to say no, because it's not coming to me. So not that I could think of. Actually, the only program I could think about that kind of reflected that was in high school.
Okay.
And the brother, he was actually ex-Black Panther, and from co-op, and that's what kind of instilled the spirit of our culture and just our Black consciousness now, though. So that was the only type of program I could say that really kind of guided me throughout this thing we call manhood.
Okay, all right, that's important. Guiding us toward manhood, because that's kind of my slogan. I want to see us winning at manhood. I say that all the time, and I think we definitely have to start with our youth. That's just very important. And I think it's important. I keep using think. It's also important for us to involve our seniors, because they've been there, they've done that, and they can kind of educate. They'll educate someone like you who's kind of in that middle ground. And you can then take it back down to the younger guys who can relate to you. You know what I mean? So how are the boys taking to that? Because I know in today's society, we really can't grab hold of too many of them, but how are they taking to you?
So they take it well, to answer your question. The thing about the not-for-profit I have is that I've tried to incorporate the high school students too. So the interesting part that you brought up is that we need the knowledge that these elders have, though. So like the first session that we had with these senior citizens, one of the tenants, they probably maybe in their 80s, grew up down south. And she said that her father was a sharecropper. These kids don't even know what sharecropping is, though. I'm just like, but you old enough to be my grandmother. Like this knowledge is not too far-fetched away. So the simple fact that these young boys, they don't know this type of information, that's a problem. And one thing I always said, too, is that the Jewish people would never let their children forget about the Holocaust, though.
Right.
So for the fact that our people haven't gone through these certain type of situations and that not being passed down to the youth, it's a big problem, though. It gives them a sense of pride, importance, identity, purpose. So.
And we're going to come back to purpose in a minute, but I think, there I go with think again. What I see is it was a system put in place to have us not educate and pass down that knowledge for the purpose of watering it down, diminishing it, and now you hear people say, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." Why you? I can't even remember. I was reading something earlier today. Some woman on the news, she talked about why is everyone holding America accountable for slavery when America is the one that abolished slavery? That's another topic, so we can talk about that.
We gotta come back. I can't let it go unspoken.
Well, we can stay there if you want to.
What I like to tell the young boys too is that you are so powerful, and you have to know that you're powerful because they have tried so hard to keep you away from who you truly are, and this is why you know you're powerful. Like I'm gonna say the forces against us, they just make it unknown though. So
It's about the education.
It's the education, but it's not even deeper than education, but it is the education because we leave the education. We have so much trust in education with our kids that we think that they'll teach them how to be a man,
Right.
our history, and the truth is they don't, though they won't.
So when I say education, I'm saying that education that I can bring to the table, you can bring to the table, those of us that have gone on and kind of done research and politicked with one another to figure out, well, that was a lie, or this didn't even come to a head. We didn't even know about that until now. We kind of bring those things, and then we take them back to the youth. You use an example of the 80-year-old resident or tenant in the program, and I look at myself, and I just had this conversation yesterday.
Right.
I said my age, what a lot of people don't realize is I was at that turning point upon my birth. I was just at that turning point where things were getting better. And so I was right there. And when I talk to my children, I'm like, Daddy kind of lived through a little bit of that. So it's not that far away. So you have to be educated on it.
It's like the civil rights was only like, what, 40, 50 years ago?
And that's
like,
my point. And
that's
I'm
a problem. Like, that's a problem.
Right.
Like, what the kids don't understand is that they're not looking at it with the right lens, though. So one thing a lot of people might not know is that, like, there was just a law passed that enabled, even though it was for people of color, period, black women to wear their hair how it's naturally grown in the workplace, though.
2019.
Like, that's crazy, though.
Yes.
And they don't grasp it, and they don't understand it because they don't know the history. So they probably don't even know that it's happened in the first place, though. But just to keep them in tune of what happened before,
Right.
and what's going on now, that's my biggest purpose, or biggest importance to them.
Yeah, that law that was just passed, I thought it crazy just looking at the time we're in. It was just crazy. It's crazy that we're at this stage and we have to pass a law like that. But I want to come back to you in a second on purpose. But welcome back to the Stark Naked Truth, where I'm sitting here with my guest, Mike Queen.
You got it.
So Mike, we talked a little bit about your dealings with the youth and our seniors and the involvement you have with that and the mentorship programs and educating those as well. Initially, when I sat down with you, what I wanted to talk about, just knowing who you are and your passions, I wanted to know, what do you feel like your purpose is?
So, I'm a servant. That's hands down. That is my purpose. That is, I think, one of the roles I'm here designed to do. And we all should be a servant. We all should be stewards. We all should help people. But when you start looking on the things that come about your life and realize the calling is always, is a need for you, though. So I say all the time, I think about the people that, I'm not going to say minister to, but the people I talk to and counsel. It's like, if I die today or tomorrow, what's going to happen, though?
Well, you got to understand, you are ministering. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be associated with the church, because I think they're kind of connected just on history, but you are ministering. That's what ministry is.
So that's definitely my purpose. And my biggest thing is I want people to get in tune with their purpose as well, though. Even when you look at even the book of Genesis, though, and you even look how they bring man into this world, he was supposed to serve a purpose, though. Like Adam had a purpose, though. With people, they kind of overlook it, but he was supposed to be a farmer. He was supposed to manage his garden. And that's what people don't understand. We each have a garden of Eden to manage. And even though it's a garden, but it's our garden on this earth. So
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you say you want others to find their purpose, or you want to help others find their purpose.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of tools are you using to do that? How are you going about that?
meditation, bro. It's all it's prayer, because we don't give ourselves our purpose. As much as we want to be self-made and all this, we're not self-made. Ain't nothing about it self-made. Our personality, our DNA is all a contribution of what our surroundings are. Those. So when we want to know our purpose, you know who we got to speak to.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing I tell people. You got to pray. Like, you know, the Bible, they have a distinction between meditation and prayer. But you got to pray by yourself. Like, this is, and we don't pray properly. Like, we think God is, a genie. Every time we pray, all we do is talk. I'm like, stop talking. Listen. Like, God said, he said, be still. So instead of just telling somebody what you want, because I never seen little fish tell what big fish to do.
Okay.
You need to sit back, look inside yourself, and listen to him, and see what your purpose is. And I promise you, things will start falling. Like, I got some spooky stories, brother.
Share one.
I mean, it gets to a point where he knows your heart. So, I don't know how familiar you are with the Bible, but, they always say you don't even have to pray sometimes because he knows your desires. So. And I truly believe that we need to get to a point to be intimate with God, to understand that his desires become our desires, though. So when we pray, it's more of just being intimate with him. So if you want something, for example, I remember one time I needed a new TV. I even prayed for it. Kid you not, 2 days later, a friend hit me up, Mike, listen, I just stumbled on the TV. I didn't ask him how he stumbled on the TV.
Right.
But he was like, listen, bro, like, you did a lot of things for me. Do you want to take it? And I was like, bro, what are you, angel? Like, come on now. Like, and that's not the first time where, even if I do pray on something, where doors literally open up, though.
Okay.
Like, so
you said you've made a distinction between prayer and meditation.
Yeah.
So your definition of prayer is not just talking to God, but it seems like you were saying talking at God. It's to sit back and listen once you start to calm yourself in that moment.
Right. So the thing is, when you think about prayer, it's supposed to be our line of communication. This is what it's supposed to be. I don't know what any conversation you would have if it was just a one-way street. So you talking to somebody for an hour and all they do is talking. That's not a conversation, though.
Right.
Like, you might be listening, but that's not a conversation. So it's a mutual engagement between two people, between two beings, between two spirits, between two whatever.
Two energies.
Yeah, so it's like, if you're the only one, jumping in, well, God, I need a TV, I need a new job. That's not a conversation, though.
Right.
Like, no, even Jesus, though, like he prayed in private, though. Because he knew how important that intimate time with his Father was, though. He wasn't asking for something. Like, when he spoke to his people, his disciples, his homies, God was speaking through him. And that's because he was listening, though, the way he was supposed to. So.
I think your explanation is it brings it down to where a lot of people who are trying to figure it all out can understand. I think that makes perfect sense. I too, in learning that prayer does work, I had to learn to listen, and that was one of my biggest problems for many years. I'd drop on my knees and say I prayed, but nothing happened. And now I know what people meant, like, God's not listening. No, I wasn't listening. You're not listening. But if you take a moment, you say, all right, let me calm myself. Let me have what you just said, a conversation.
Right. That's it.
And that's when people ask me and say, well, how do you pray? I said, just have a conversation. And if you know what a conversation is, you have to give and get. If you're just giving, you're not getting anything. What was it worth? You stood on kneel down on your bad knees for nothing.
It's like, it's almost like having a conversation with your lady, though. Like, you realize it works better.
Are we talking about ladies in religion? Is that what we're doing? Are you really going to do that?
I can segue
into that.
Because it works it works better when we listen though.
Right.
Like, and that's for anybody else. So like, you listen to what she's saying, so you can internalize it and equip yourself mentally as to what to say out. You ain't got to be arguing all day.
So in the last segment I did with my buddy Hosea, that was part of the conversation we had about listening to your lady and hearing what she has to say, and it makes life a lot more easier. And so many of us have failed because we're hearing her, but we're not listening.
No, we did. We failed incredibly. Like, like, it's disgusting, though. Like, to the point where if you were to take yourself out yourself and look at the conversation, you'd probably smack yourself upside the head.
Well, I think a lot of us have done just that. I think we've done just that. I mean, this is pretty interesting where we've come from in the start of this conversation to where we're ending. This is fun. I like the fact that you want to point people toward their purpose. I think that's seriously and truly important, because I think too oftentimes we get caught up in ourselves. Right? We get caught up in ourselves. But what we're going to do is we're going to take another break for another commercial, and we'll come back with the Stark Naked Truth. Welcome back to the Stark Naked Truth. I'm your host, Larry Stark Jr. Coming back to where we left off, Mike, we're going to talk about a little more about purpose. I know you had some additional thoughts on that. So what do you have to say on it?
So one of the things I hate seeing people do is exhaust themselves in something that's not designed for them. And this is why I like people to try to get in tune with their purpose and try to find out what it is, because I've seen so many people, especially in my generation, and I don't know about the younger generation, who really think they know what they're doing, who haven't, invited God in, our spiritual side in, and they really just living for themselves, living fleshly, and they dying, but it's like, what are you doing it for? Like, your job is killing you. So your purpose, like, you will always be fulfilled though. Like, people say all the time, like, I love what I do. Like, you want that type of feeling going on though. So that's just like, it irritates me, because it's like, you wasting time on this earth. Like, you got a purpose, you got a job to do. Like, I don't care what situation you might be in, you are designed to be great.
Right.
And it's just slowly slipping away each step by step. Like I brought up the Bible before. Like, Adam had a purpose though. Like I said before, he was supposed to manage, he was supposed to be a farm keeper. And, he stepped out that purpose and kind of went down from there.
So do you think someone like Adam that had an assignment directly from God, who didn't stick to the script? I mean, if he didn't do it, what makes you think we have the ability to do it?
So I think we have the ability to do it though. He was just influenced,
as we are every day.
Every day, and this is why we need to listen. I'm an advocate. Stay prayed up. We need to we need to be walking in a different footstep though. Like, would you rather walk with man, or you rather walk with God? Like, that's the decision you need to make though. So when you talk about purpose, this is an everyday thing though. Right. Like, this is a daily process.
It has to be a job. It has to be a job, and you have to work at it every day. And I agree. I've had to work at my purpose. I think my purpose, when I finally figured it out, not only service, but it was to be a father. And I found that early on. And when I say father, I don't want to leave it to just the children that I help bring here. Right. I think it's, the younger brothers and sisters that come behind me that I interact with every day, or at some course during my walk. I think it's important that I try to show them, if you don't have it out there, I got it for you. You know what I mean? And I think we get lost. There I go with think again. I know we get lost in doing that. Too many of us, the old, don't say nothing to them because it's just going to cause you more trouble. Well, sometimes you saying something is what
you got to say something
diffuses that trouble.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. And I like the fact that you've gone to both extremes, the elders and the youth. Okay. And then I'm sure you politic with those in between as well, because they need to know.
They need to know too.
They need to know too. It's hard to do it, but you can only be commended for taking on that role.
No, it's listen, like I said, we just a vessel. Like, it's not our life. So even when people, some people ask me like, how you do it though, like, because it's a lot of going on. I'm like, listen, He strengthens me. That's all I can say. Like I don't think about it. Like I said, I stay prayed up, and this is how I'm able to move though. Like I wouldn't leave it up to myself. I wouldn't take credit for it at all. Though, so.
Okay. So I want to ask you a question, and I'm sure we're gonna run out of time before we get this one, and this is gonna be a goodie. But this is gonna be my way of bringing you back, because we're gonna finish this conversation.
I got you.
Black men.
Okay.
In church.
Whew.
There's so much out there where it's believed that black men refuse to be part of churches. Anything on that?
Refuse.
Thievery they're claiming, you know, the pimp in the pulpit, you know, all those kind of things. They're stealing money.
So one of the things I think deters black men from church, because I don't think that the church is against the black man or the black man is against the church though. But one thing I think that keeps the black man away from the church, and a particular type of black man, is that it's pride though. So I'll give you a scenario. You take your lady to church. Now, y'all went to church because obviously it was a calling within you that wanted to be spiritually nurtured. You get to church, you got this man in the pulpit. He over here, he hitting scriptures, calling out spirits. Got your lady over here looking like she had a Keith Sweat concert. How is that gonna make you feel though? Like that's what it's about.
That seems like some insecurity in that man.
But that's what I'm trying to say. I think part of it is insecurity, and I think another part, women have to be conscious of it though, because at the end of the day, we're still men. We still have feelings. We still get jealous though. We still might be insecure though. But when you're around us in our private time, and it's like you keep this Pastor Johnny. You keep bringing up Pastor Johnny and the word he was hitting, how he hit the word, what revelation he gave you. It's kind of like, well, is this about God or Pastor Johnny though? Like, what's going on though? So I think, and if it's for like I said, it's a particular type of black man though, because if you have one who's secure in his faith and his own manhood, might not bother him. I get it. Pastor Johnny's just a vessel. I feel the same way you feel about him as well. But if you got a brother who's new to the whole church thing, and all he sees right then and there is just you talking about another man who's more elevated spiritually than you are and stuff like that, it's a different type of context.
So what I'm summarizing is either a man that stands on your manhood or you're a jealous man, and those are the two type of men that have the differences with whether or not church is for them or not. We're not finished with this one. We're going to come back to this because we need to dig a little deeper into that one. But I definitely want to thank you for coming and hanging out with me for just a conversation. I think there's some valuable information that you've shared. And a lot of people will get a lot out of this. Just be sure to keep walking in your purpose, man. We need brothers like you every single day, especially for those youngsters, and connecting them to our scene. Mike, I want to thank you for coming to sit down with me today. I think you shared some very valuable information, and I think it's a lot that we can learn from what you had. And I'm definitely going to have you back on the show because I want to talk a little bit more about the whole church and men in general, not just black men, but men in general, because I think that's important. All right, I appreciate you coming through.
Appreciate you more, brother.
Yes, sir. All right. With that, we're going to close out this session of the Stark Naked Truth. And I want to invite you all to continue coming back and learning from this. And if there's anyone out there who's learned something from this session, you know how to email me, the Twitter, not Twitter, I don't use Twitter too much, but you got my IG and everything will be posted in the credits. You can check me out there, and we'll get somebody to sit down and talk with you. Once again, this is Larry Stark, Jr. with the Stark Naked Truth. Peace and blessings.
That said that no matter what color you are, there's only two classes. And that's saying there's a class over here and there's a class over there. And the reason that this class over here has never did anything to get this class off its back, because this is lower, this is upper. This is the oppressed, this is the oppressor, this is the exploited, this is the exploiter. And these people in this class have divided themselves. They say, I'm black and I hate white people. I'm white and I hate black people. I'm Latin American and I hate hillbillies. I'm hillbilly, I hate hillbillies. So we fighting amongst each other.
When it makes no sense, we got no government here. Why the good people get sicken and they disappear. Mine